I want you to think about something for a moment. What if I told you that the difference between where you are now and where you want to be isn't one giant leap, but rather thousands of tiny steps? That the path to transformation isn't paved with dramatic overnight changes, but with small, consistent improvements made day after day? Because here's the truth, and I need you to really hear this. Extraordinary lives are built through ordinary actions repeated consistently over time. The compound effect of daily improvement. Think about water for a second. A single drop isn't much. You'd barely notice it. But what happens when that single drop falls in the same spot day after day for years? It carves through solid rock. It creates canyons. It reshapes landscapes. That's the power of small actions compounded over time. When we talk about improving our lives, we often focus on the big moments, the dramatic transformations, the overnight successes. But those stories are myths. The real story of transformation is much quieter, much less glamorous, but infinitely more powerful. I learned this lesson the hard way. Years ago, I was stuck. I had big dreams but felt overwhelmed by how far I needed to go. Every attempt at change ended the same way. Initial excitement followed by burnout and giving up. Sound familiar to anyone? Then I discovered something that fundamentally changed my approach. I stopped trying to transform my life overnight and instead focused on improving just 1% each day. Now, 1% might not sound like much, and it's not for a day. But here's where the magic happens. Improve by 1% every day for a year, and you're not just 365% better. Due to compounding, you're actually 37 times better. That's not a typo. 37 times. Why? Because each improvement builds on the one before it. Each day, you're not just improving from your starting point. You're improving from your new, slightly better foundation. So let me ask you this. What area of your life would you love to be 37 times better a year from now? Your health, your relationships, your career, your finances. The good news is you don't have to do something huge to get there. You just need to make tiny improvements, consistently, day after day. Key areas for daily improvement. Now, let's talk about the specific areas where small daily improvements can create the biggest impacts in your life. Your mindset. First and foremost is your mindset. Your thoughts create your reality, and improving your mindset daily is absolutely critical. Every morning, I spend 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, focusing on gratitude and possibility. I write down 3 things I'm grateful for and 1 new opportunity I see for the day. This tiny habit has completely transformed how I see the world. Another small improvement? Replace just 1 negative thought each day with a positive alternative. When you catch yourself thinking, "I can't do this," immediately counter with, "I'm learning how to do this." That tiny shift, practiced daily, will completely rewire your brain over time. Remember, your mindset isn't fixed. It's a garden that needs daily tending. Pull 1 weed and plant 1 flower each day, and within months, you'll have transformed the landscape of your mind. Your habits. Next, let's talk about habits, the small, automatic behaviors that shape our lives. Most people try to change too many habits at once. They want to start exercising for an hour daily, completely change their diet, begin meditating, and learn a new language all at the same time. And what happens? They stick with it for a week, feel overwhelmed, and give up completely. There's a better way. Focus on improving just 1 small habit at a time. I had a client named Sarah who wanted to get healthier. Instead of a complete lifestyle overhaul, she started with just drinking 1 glass of water first thing each morning. That's it. Once that became automatic after about 2 weeks, she added taking a 5-minute walk after dinner. Small, manageable changes. 6 months later, she had built a chain of healthy habits that completely transformed her energy levels, her weight, and her overall well-being. All because she focused on small daily improvements rather than massive, unsustainable change. What small habit could you start improving today? Maybe it's going to bed 15 minutes earlier. Maybe it's reading just one page of a book. Maybe it's sending one message to someone you care about. Whatever it is, make it so small that it feels almost too easy. That's the secret to making it stick. Your skills. Now let's talk about skills. In today's rapidly changing world, continuous learning isn't optional, it's essential. But here's where most people go wrong. They try to master a new skill in weekend crash courses or intensive boot camps. While that approach might work for some, it's not sustainable for most of us with busy lives and multiple responsibilities. Instead, try this. Commit to just 15 minutes of deliberate practice every day. That's it. 15 minutes. Want to learn a new language? 15 minutes daily will get you further than 3 hours once a week. Want to become a better writer? 15 minutes of focused writing each day will transform your skills faster than you can imagine. I know someone who wanted to learn to play guitar. For years, he kept putting it off because he didn't have enough time to practice. Then he committed to just 10 minutes a day, often while waiting for his coffee to brew in the morning. 1 year later, he could play dozens of songs and had discovered a passion that now brings him daily joy. The question isn't whether you have time to improve your skills. The question is, can you find 15 minutes? Because that's all it takes to create remarkable change over time. Your relationships. Relationships are the foundation of a fulfilling life. Yet how many of us actually invest in improving them daily? Small daily improvements in how you connect with others can completely transform your social world. Try this. Each day, have one conversation where you focus completely on the other person. No checking your phone, no thinking about what you'll say next. Just genuine, focused attention. Or commit to expressing genuine appreciation to one person each day. Not generic compliments, but specific acknowledgement of something you value about them. I started doing this a few years ago, and I can't overstate the difference it's made in my relationships. People remember how you make them feel, and these tiny investments of attention and appreciation compound dramatically over time. What's one small way you could improve a key relationship today? A text expressing gratitude? 5 minutes of undivided attention? A small act of service? The action itself might be small, but the impact over time will be enormous. Your health few areas respond better to the power of small improvements than your physical well-being. We all know we should exercise more and eat better, but trying to completely overhaul your lifestyle rarely works long-term. Instead, focus on tiny improvements. Can you eat one more vegetable today than yesterday? Can you walk for just 5 more minutes? Can you go to bed 10 minutes earlier? I have a friend who transformed his health by starting with just 1 push-up a day. Yes, 1. Of course, once he was down on the floor, he usually did a few more, but the commitment was just 1. That tiny commitment got him past the mental barrier of starting. Within a year, he had built a consistent exercise habit that completely changed his body and his energy levels. Remember, when it comes to health, consistency trumps intensity every single time. The person who walks for 20 minutes every day will achieve far better results than someone who does an exhausting 2-hour workout once a month. What's one small health improvement you could commit to today? Something so easy you couldn't possibly say no. The power of consistency over intensity. Now, let's dive deeper into one of the most important principles of transformation. Consistency always beats intensity. We live in a culture obsessed with intensity. We celebrate the athlete who trains until exhaustion, the entrepreneur who works 100-hour weeks, the crash diet that promises rapid results. But here's what that approach misses. Sustainable transformation doesn't come from what you do occasionally, it comes from what you do consistently. I want you to imagine 2 people trying to fill a swimming pool. The first person gets a fire hose and blasts water at full pressure for 10 minutes every 2 weeks. The second person sets up a garden hose that continuously delivers a steady stream of water 24 hours a day. Who fills their pool first? The steady, consistent approach wins every time. Not because each individual action is more powerful. Clearly, the fire hose delivers more water per minute. but because consistency compounds in a way that occasional intensity simply cannot match. I see this play out constantly in personal development. People get motivated, make dramatic changes for a short period, burn out, and then revert to old patterns. They're using the fire hose approach. But the people who achieve lasting transformation, they're the ones making small, consistent improvements day after day after day. They're the ones who don't miss their daily habits even when they don't feel like it. They understand that average speed matters more than top speed. So ask yourself, what small improvement can you make today that you could also make tomorrow and the next day and the day after that? What tiny action can you take consistently, without fail, for the next year? Because that's where the real magic happens. Overcoming resistance to change. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. If small daily improvements are so powerful, why don't more people make them? The answer is simple: resistance. Our brains are wired to conserve energy and stick with familiar patterns, even when those patterns don't serve us. Change, even small change, triggers discomfort, and most people interpret that discomfort as a signal to stop. But what if you reframed that discomfort as a sign of growth? What if you expected it, welcomed it even, as evidence that you're moving in the right direction? Here's a powerful strategy I've found for overcoming resistance: the 5-minute rule. When you feel resistance to a daily improvement you've committed to, just agree to do it for 5 minutes. That's it. After 5 minutes, you can stop if you want to. What happens most of the time? Once you start, the resistance melts away and you continue beyond the 5 minutes. The hardest part wasn't doing the activity, it was starting it. Another strategy: make your daily improvements ridiculously small. So small that your brain can't find a reasonable excuse to avoid them. Can't face a 30-minute workout? Commit to just 1 minute? Can't bring yourself to clean the whole kitchen? Just clean one dish? Can't tackle that big work project? Just open the file and write 1 sentence. These microscopically small actions bypass your brain's resistance mechanism. And once you've started, continuing becomes much easier. I learned this approach from a client who struggled with depression and found it impossible to maintain a meditation practice. Instead of aiming for 20 minutes daily, we scaled it back to just 3 deep breaths. That's it. 3 breaths. It seemed too small to make a difference, but it got him past the starting hurdle. 6 months later, he had built up to a consistent 15-minute daily practice that he credits with transforming his mental health. Remember, resistance never goes away completely. Even after years of practice, you'll still feel it. The difference is that you'll recognize it for what it is, not a signal to stop, but a sign that you're pushing beyond your comfort zone. And that's exactly where growth happens. Real stories of small changes, big results. Let me share a few stories that illustrate the incredible power of small daily improvements. There's Michael, who committed to writing just 300 words every day, about 1 page. Not much, right? But he stuck with it, day after day. Some days the words flowed easily, other days it was a struggle, but he maintained his tiny daily commitment. 3 years later, he had completed 3 full novels and secured a publishing deal. Or consider Elena, who started saving just $5 per day, about the cost of a fancy coffee. She automated it, setting up a transfer that happened daily without her having to think about it. That tiny $5 daily investment, consistently made and properly invested, grew to over $50,000 in just 7 years. Small actions, dramatic results. Then there's James, who struggled with social anxiety. His daily improvement was tiny but challenging. Speak to one stranger each day. Just a brief, simple interaction. Commenting on the weather to someone in an elevator, asking the barista how their day was going, complimenting someone's dog at the park. These tiny social stretches, practiced daily, gradually expanded his comfort zone. 2 years later, he was confidently giving presentations to large groups and leading team meetings, things he once thought impossible. What do all these stories have in common? None of these people made dramatic overnight changes. They didn't rely on motivation or willpower. They simply committed to tiny, consistent improvements and trusted the process. And here's what's fascinating. In each case, there was a tipping point, a moment when all those small improvements suddenly created visible, dramatic change. It wasn't linear. For months, the progress might have seemed slow, almost imperceptible. And then suddenly, everything changed. That's how transformation really works. It's not a straight line. It's a curve that stays flat for longer than you'd expect, and then suddenly accelerates upward. The question is, can you trust the process long enough to reach that tipping point? Creating your own daily improvement plan. So how do you put this into practice in your own life? Let me share a simple framework to help you harness the power of small daily improvements. First, choose one area to focus on. Just one. Maybe it's your health, your relationships, your career skills, or your mindset. Trying to improve everything at once is a recipe for overwhelm and giving up. Next, identify one small action you can take daily to improve in that area. And when I say small, I mean really small. Something that takes 5 minutes or less. Something so easy you can do it even on your worst day. Then, attach this new action to something you already do consistently, what we call an anchor habit. Do you brush your teeth every morning? That's an anchor. Do you have coffee every afternoon? That's an anchor. Linking your new small improvement to an existing habit dramatically increases your chances of consistency. Now, track your consistency. Use a simple calendar or habit tracking app to mark each day you complete your small improvement. Your goal is to build a chain of successful days and then not break the chain. Finally, celebrate your consistency, not just your results. The results will come in time, but they're not entirely under your control. What is under your control is your daily action. So celebrate that. Be proud of your consistency and the person you're becoming through these daily practices. Let me give you a concrete example of how this works. Let's say you want to improve your physical fitness. Your one small daily action might be to do 10 squats right after you brush your teeth in the morning. That's your anchor habit. You track it on a calendar, building your chain of consistent days. And you celebrate your consistency, feeling proud of yourself for showing up day after day. After this becomes easy, truly automatic, requiring almost no willpower, you can add another small improvement. Maybe it's 10 push-ups before your shower. Again, you anchor it, track it, and celebrate your consistency. Over time, these small improvements compound. 6 months from now, you might have built a complete morning fitness routine that takes just 15 minutes but transforms how you look and feel. All from starting with just 10 squats a day. The key is to start so small that you can't fail, and then trust the process of compounding improvement. Your call to action. So where do we go from here? Let me leave you with a clear call to action. A challenge that could fundamentally change the trajectory of your life if you accept it. I challenge you to commit to the 1% Better Challenge for the next 30 days. Here's how it works. 1. Choose one area of your life to improve. 2. Identify one tiny action, something that takes 5 minutes or less, that would make you 1% better in that area. 3. Commit to doing that one action every single day for 30 days. No exceptions, no excuses. 4th, track your consistency and celebrate each day you follow through. The action you choose should be so small that it seems almost trivial. Remember, we're not aiming for intensity here. We're aiming for consistency. Something you can do without fail, every single day, regardless of circumstances. Maybe it's reading one page of a book. Maybe it's sending one message of appreciation. Maybe it's writing down 3 things you're grateful for. Maybe it's doing 5 minutes of stretching. Whatever it is, commit to it now. Not tomorrow, not when you feel more motivated, not when conditions are perfect. Now. Because here's the truth. This moment, right now, is the only moment you can actually change. The past is fixed, and the future depends entirely on what you do right now, in this moment. So let me ask you, what's your 1% improvement going to be? What small action will you commit to, starting today, that will compound over time into tremendous change? Remember, extraordinary lives are not built through extraordinary actions. They're built through ordinary actions performed with extraordinary consistency. They're built through small daily improvements that compound over time into remarkable results. The question isn't whether this approach works. The evidence is overwhelming. It does. The question is whether you'll apply it, whether you'll trade the allure of dramatic overnight change for the reality of gradual, consistent improvement. I believe you will. I believe you have what it takes to make that commitment and stick with it. I believe in the power of the small steps you'll take each day. And I believe that a year from now, you'll look back on this moment as the beginning of a profound transformation. Not because you made some dramatic change today, but because you committed to becoming just a little bit better, day after day after day. Did you know? Just one like from you can give me the motivation to create more awesome videos. And by subscribing with the notification bell on, you'll never miss out on my next amazing content. Don't forget to leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about this video or suggest a topic you'd like to see next.